Hi, everyone. I'm Shauna. I'm the registered dietitian for the Empower Weight Loss team at Bingham Memorial. Today, we're going to do the lifestyle class online, and we're going to learn a lot about what we're doing pre-op and post-op for surgery. We're going to start by talking about portion control. So portion control is really important because that's why we're really doing these surgeries, to help to control our portions. So a couple of definitions I like to go through. Number one is serving size. So serving sizes are what we see listed on our food label. So if we have a food label here, it's everything that's listed here. So a couple of changes that have been made recently with the food labels by the FDA is that they have made calories big and bolded on the label so that we now know exactly how many calories are in these products instead of guessing. So before, like a product like this would say it would have 2 servings on it. And so people would turn it over and look at this and it would say 150 calories. And instead of multiplying that by 2, we're just assuming it has 150 calories. So we're getting a lot of confusion. So the FDA is trying to fix that for us so we don't have to do that math any longer. The other big thing that you're going to notice on the food label is they've put added sugar. So if you look under total carbs on added sugar, or under total carbs, added sugar is now there. And that tells us really how much sugar they've added to our product. So we can look at different products and see that sugar is an ingredient, but we really don't know what's natural sugar and what's added sugar. So we're going to come back to that later when we talk about added sugar. So I just wanted to point out that. So the other serving sizes is important because they've also changed. So like I said, instead of it saying 2 servings, it says 1. So that makes it easier for us. So serving sizes is what this label corresponds with. The other thing that I like to talk about is portion size. So portion size is the amount we actually do eat. So ice cream. I always like to use ice cream for example because we all like to eat lots of ice cream. A serving of ice cream is only a half a cup. Do any of us really stop at a half cup? So we actually tend to eat, a cup and a half of ice cream. So that would be our portion. So portion size can be multiple servings in a single portion. So just keep that in mind. That Berrytastic app that we've had you all download onto your phone is going to help you calculate your calories and carbs and protein more accurately without having to do the multiplication on your own. So keep in mind that if we haven't met, we will talk about that Berrytastic app one-on-one and get you to download that on your phone. So plate sizes have a huge impact on how much we're eating. So over time, our plate sizes have grown. So in the 60s, our plate sizes were about 800 to 900 calories. Now our plate sizes are 12-inch plates, sometimes even 14-inch plates, and we can fit 1,900 calories on a plate. So realistically, we need to look at that plate size. So when we're on a diet, the first thing we do is we try to put less food on our plate. Does that ever work? Not usually. So we put less food on our plate. We have all this empty space. And the empty space makes our brain tell us there is no way this food is going to fill us up. So we either put more food on our plate, we take seconds, or we can justify eating ice cream after dinner because we did really well with dinner. So before surgery, I want you to change from a dinner plate and we want you to shrink you down to a salad-sized plate. So that helps to eliminate all that empty space on your plate, helps you to decrease your calorie intake and your carb intake, and help you to get to those weight loss goals prior to surgery that have been set for you. This slide is kind of interesting. So it shows us how much food is different, how much more food you can put on a larger plate. So if you look at the child side plate, you get 1 fish stick, and this is carb loading at its finest. So ignore the food choices. It's the only slide I could find that showed all the different foods or all the different plate sizes. And then if you look at the dinner plate, there's 5 fish sticks and lots more French fries and lots more peas. So you can definitely see how a larger plate size will give you more food on your plate. So other things we want you to think about with this surgery is that we need to be chewing our food to a pace consistency. So we are busy people. We don't have time to take half an hour to eat our lunch. So in reality, most of us are eating our lunch in 5-10 minutes, and we're chewing and then we're swallowing big chunks of food and they get stuck right here, especially if it's like chicken, and then we're drinking to get it down. So After surgery, if you're swallowing chunks of food like that, it's going to make you sick. So nausea, vomiting, pain, any of those kind of things can occur if we're not chewing our food well enough. So 20 to 40 times per bite is what we're looking for your chewing. Start practicing that now. It's not an easy thing to do. So really start practicing. So when you get to surgery, you'll have some practice with it and know what you should be doing. Smaller plates and utensils, we talked about that. I have people who have bought the kids' plates, those obnoxious coffee saucers that we all have in our cupboards that we never use. Also, kids' utensils. So buying the smaller utensils that fit less food on them, so it takes us more time to get our food into our mouth besides, one spoonful heaping. So smaller plate sizes and utensils definitely will help. So next we're going to talk about skipping meals. So skipping meals can cause lots of problems, nutrition deficiencies. It can lead to snacking. So a lot of us skip breakfast because we just simply don't have the time to get up earlier in the morning. Or if it's like me, I'm really actually too lazy to get up and cook eggs in the morning. So I'm going to grab something like a protein shake for breakfast, and you can definitely use that to substitute your meal. So when you're going from a plate full of food in 2 meals to a half a cup 3 times a day, we can really see nutrition deficiencies start to pop up because we've cut our intake drastically. The other thing, we try to overeat when we skip meals. So we might skip breakfast, and by the time we hit lunch, we're so hungry that we overeat and we can make ourselves sick. So really 3 meals are required after surgery, whether you're doing a protein shake or maybe even grabbing a yogurt for breakfast, as long as we're doing something to get those 3 meals in there so we're hitting all of our goals. So we like to talk to how many meals and snacks we get a day. If you're doing a gastric sleeve, we say 3 to 4 meals a day. If you're doing the gastric bypass, we're going to tell you 5 to 6 meals a day because there is some malabsorption that goes on. So 3 to 4 meals really depends on what you're putting in that meal. That's where that Berrytastic app really does come in handy, because then you know exactly what you're eating. You know where your carb intake is, where your protein intake is. So 3 to 4 meals, just depending on what you put in that meal. You can do a protein shake. You can do it as a snack. You can use it as a meal replacement. Sometimes we'll move that around after surgery, depending on, when you're feeling like you need to have a snack, or when you're, hungry, 3 o'clock rolls by and you're feeling like you're dragging. Maybe that's a good time to put a protein shake in. But we'll work closely after surgery together to figure out what works best for you, and we'll twist things a little bit to make sure that you are getting what you need. Snacking. So snacking is always a big one. If you've met with me, we always tell you do not snack before surgery, because we're not snacking for the right reasons. We're snacking for emotional reasons. So snacking is okay as long as we're snacking for the right reasons. So if we're trying to get our calories up, or if we're trying to get our protein up, those are 2 good reasons to snack. But just because we're bored, not a great reason for us to be snacking. So really sitting yourself down and saying, why am I snacking? Am I hungry? Am I bored? Am I stressed? Any of those kind of things will help us to determine whether you should actually have that snack or not. So why do you guys snack? So think about it. When you're at home, what are reasons that you snack? So lots of reasons. My favorite reason is boredom. My other reason is because it's there. So little secret, I love cookies. Actually, everyone knows that. But I can't keep cookies in my house, because if I keep cookies in my house, I'm going to eat them. No matter how many times I tell myself that I'm not going to eat those cookies, I am going to eat those cookies. So if you have those foods in your house, get them out. Parents with kids. So a big thing I have here is my kids need these snacks. And so do they really? So our kids, we're trying to make our lifestyle healthy, so we really want that to impact our kids. We don't want our kids to end up where we're at now. So getting those foods out of the house and replacing them with healthier snacks. So things like Moon Cheese you can buy at Costco or on Amazon. There's a new chip out that's called Popcorner Flex. It's got protein and low carbs in it. You can buy that at Sam's Club online, or at Walmart now carries them. You can do nuts and cheeses and those kind of things, and teaching your kids and yourself that you can have a snack occasionally, but we need to twist those snacks just a little bit so they're more healthy for us. Boredom is another big one I hear. Got to stay busy. Especially in the winter months, we are held captive in our house. And so we tend to do what? think about what's in the fridge. What's in the fridge? And so we're going to go to the kitchen and we're going to grab something out of the fridge and snack on it, whether it's good for us or not, whether we're hungry, whether we need it. So stay busy. So something I like to do is on commercials, I'll get up and I'll do some dishes or throw some laundry in or whatever it is to keep myself thinking, what am I going to do on the next commercial break? If I'm binge watching Netflix, same thing. I'll watch something on it and then I'll give myself a specific amount of time, like 15 minutes, that I have to get up and do something so I'm not plopped on the couch doing nothing for hours and hours. Another thing I like to do is I craft. So I will craft. I have a craft table in my living room. My husband does not love it, but that's okay. So I will craft while I watch TV, and that really helps keep my hands busy. So I'm crafting. I can't get stuff on my hands, so therefore I can't eat. So that really also helps. You have to find something that works for you because you may not be a crafter. We don't expect guys to knit and crochet if that's not the thing that they do. So find something that you like to do that you can stick with. You can do it for a while. If it gets something you don't want to do anymore, you can definitely switch that up. But start looking at things that you can do. So stop snacking. Like I said, we got to stay busy. So there's lots of things that we can do to stay busy. Exercising is always a great one. It's a great stress reliever. You know, when I'm stressed, the last thing I think about is I'm going to go for a walk. So try to make yourself do things other than eating. You can read books, play with your kids or your dog, call a friend or a loved one. Brush your teeth or use mouthwash is a good one because nobody wants to eat after they have that in their mouth. And so it helps to deter you from eating. So next we're going to talk about fats and sugars. So when we're dieting, we either cut all the fats from our diet to get our calories down because we're going to do a low calorie diet, or we're going to cut all the sugar from our diet because we're going to do, a keto Atkins type diet. So names for added sugar on the food label. So this is where the food label becomes really important, that new added sugar. So every food product has different amounts of added sugar in it, and we don't know. If it just says our ingredient is sugar, how do we know how much is added and how much is not? So a couple of years ago, they came out with Healthy People's, well, I guess it was more than a couple of years ago, 2015, Healthy People 2015. And one of the things they're focusing on is added sugar because we're now showing that is contributing to heart disease and diabetes. So we're going to have both of those are affected. Different products have different amounts of sugar. So you go and you look at the peanut butter aisle and Skippy may have 5 grams of added sugar and Jif may have 4 grams of added sugar. So that can help you determine which food product that you would like to purchase. On this slide, it shows a bunch of different added sugars, but it doesn't show you all of them. So there are 86 names for added sugar on a food label. We have things from honey to agave to raw sugar to white sugar. Even if it's touted as a healthy sugar, it's still got a lot of carbs in it. It's still probably not the best choice. So really start to look at those added sugars on the food labels. If you're looking at the old food labels, which there are still quite a few old food labels out there, the old food labels were supposed to have been changed in 2018, but that kind of got pushed by the wayside. And then in 2020, they just came up with that they will be changed by the end of this year. So you should see all food products having those new food labels on them. So this may become less important, or it does become less important as those new food labels come out. Common foods with added sugar, everything. So we add sugar to absolutely everything, even if it has sugar in it. So we have fruit juice that they put sugar in it. It's already nothing but sugar. Peanut butter. I've had patients tell me salsa is a good place to find added sugar, which seems like a very odd place. Frozen fruit. It's now called sweetened fruit, and so it's got added sugar sprinkled on the top of it. So the sugar that we know that makes us want to eat the food. So it's a very addictive property. So we're going to try to get rid of those sugars. The more we stay away from the sugars, the less we crave them. So that really does help in the long run. Sugar-related terms. So sugar-free. Sugar-free means there's less than 0.5 gram of sugar in it. There are 2 types of sugar-free products. There's one with sugar alcohols, and there's one with artificial or natural sweeteners like stevia and Splenda in them. Both can cause some GI upset depending on your individual person. The sugar alcohols tend to cause more GI upset than the sugar artificial sweeteners like Splenda or the natural sweeteners like stevia. If you've ever bought a box of, container of sugar-free mints, Definitely a great place to not eat the whole container. So if you eat the whole container, you're going to end up in the bathroom with abdominal pain, cramping, diarrhea, gas, bloating. Not going to be fun. Actually, recently there was someone on the internet that did a YouTube or video of their wedding, and they had all these sugar-free gummy bears. All of their guests end up sick. So be really careful with the sugar-free products. Definitely can get you into trouble, especially if they have those sugar alcohols in them. A lot of the Atkins products have sugar alcohols in them. So that's how they get their sugar alcohols, or they get their net carbs so low, is those sugar alcohols helps bring that total carb number down. Reduced sugar or low sugar really doesn't give us a whole lot of information. It's just telling us that they've reduced the sugar intake by 25%. It doesn't tell us where the starting point is. So my husband loves ice cream. And so I went down the ice cream aisle and looked at all the labels. And the reduced sugar ice cream actually had more carbs and sugar than the regular ice cream. So it doesn't give us a starting point. It gives us no reference on where to go. So just because those labels are on there doesn't mean we should run out and buy those. When I was in college, Atkins was huge, and they had a no-carb mayonnaise. If you've ever looked at a mayonnaise label, there is no carbs in mayonnaise to begin with. And so they were charging like $3 extra for this bottle of mayonnaise that's half the size, and people were buying it up because it said low carb. So really, sometimes those labels can be very deceiving. So always look at that nutrition facts label on the back. No added sugar or without added sugar just means they haven't added anything. It doesn't mean there's not sugar in that product. So things like dried fruit or fruit juice. Fruit juice is a big one that they put no added sugar, still loaded in sugar. Doesn't mean that there's no sugar in it. It just means they haven't put anything extra. So again, always look at that food label. Low sugar is now found on jams and jellies. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, other than I have looked at the labels. They do have less sugar in them. The FDA has not approved that claim. I'm not sure why they're using them, but so you'll see some weird ones that are out there that shouldn't be used, but they are being used. So key is to just always turn and look at that food label. That's going to be the best thing you can do. Ways to decrease sugar in your diet is to always look at the food labels, choosing those products that have less added sugar than others. You can use non-calorie sweeteners like stevia or Splenda. There's a ton out there now, like Swerve and monk fruit extract and Truvia. So there's lots of different options. So if you try one and you don't like it, you can always move to a different one. Know your sugar aliases. Those definitely become less important as those new food labels start rolling out. Unsweetened products. So everyone loves to drink sweet tea. That's a big one that I see. So get unsweetened tea, add your stevia, Splenda, no calorie sweetener to it. Now you have sweetened tea without all the other calories. And then the last one, use something else to add flavor to your food. Instead of using sugar, maybe use some vanilla extract or some citrus or different kinds of seasonings or spices that can change the flavor up without actually adding calories and sugars to it. Unhealthy fats. So a couple years ago, a study came out that said fats are no longer unhealthy for us, including saturated fat. However, there is one unhealthy fat out there. It's the trans fats. Trans fats are any food that has partially hydrogenated oils in them. Again, in 2018, it was mandated by the FDA to take the trans fat out of our food supply. I'm still seeing some food products with trans fats in them. They're usually found in like bakery goods, cookies, pies, margarines, those kind of things, pie crusts. But we should see that to start to go away. They have now converted from partially hydrogenated oils to complete hydrogenated oils. Give us 5 years, we'll tell you why that's killing you, because we change our mind every 5 minutes. So keep an eye on it. You should start seeing less and less of those products. Saturated fats are any kind of fat that's solid at room temperature, which includes like poultry skins, cheeses, bacon and sausage, butter. Coconut oil actually falls into the saturated fat category. So that's just a heads up for those. Polyunsaturated fats, you may or may not have heard of these. These are found in some of our plant-based oils and some of our fatty fishes. The polyunsaturated fats are now showing to help reduce our risk of type 2 diabetes. So we've gone from, fats causing heart disease and sugar causing diabetes, and we're kind of flipping those, saying that now fats are preventing diabetes and sugars are causing heart disease. It's kind of a weird thing that we're kind of going through right now. found in like soybean oil, your fatty fishes like mackerel and trout and those kind of fish. Our best fats that we're talking about are the monounsaturated fats, and I would tell you to really focus on these types of fats because they're the healthiest for us. These fats are known to lower our total cholesterol levels, but also to raise our heart protectant cholesterols or our HDL cholesterols, and these will help our body, our hearts to be stronger. Monounsaturated fats are found in a lot of, nuts and seeds and oils and avocados, those kind of things. Avocado is a new thing that's been out for 6 months to a year, and people are really liking the avocado oils. They don't have as strong as a flavor as the olive oils does, but you get the same effect from them. So keep in mind that it doesn't matter if it's a saturated fat or a monounsaturated fat, they have the same amount of calories. So fats are the most calorie dense foods that we are eating. So steer more toward those monounsaturated fats, less of the saturated fats, but we all love cheese and bacon. And I know that the keto diet touts those, but really trying to stick with maybe less of those and more of like nuts and seeds and those kind of things. So we're going to use fats in our diets to increase our calories. So it's kind of a myth after surgery that you should be eating 500 calories or less a day after surgery. We are wanting you at about 1,000 calories to 1,200. It's probably going to take you a month or two to get there, but fats are a good way to decrease the volume of food you're eating, but also increase the amount of calories you're getting so you can hit those goals a little easier. So use those, but you can also use those if you're eating too much. So you're hitting 1,500 calories. We can use those fats to help decrease your intake back just a little bit. So we can use those in a couple of different ways. Tips to decrease fat in your diet would be things like consume more plant-based foods. So plant-based foods have less fat in them. You can also use low-fat or fat-free dressings or salad dressings or dairy products. So again, if you love whole milk, drink whole milk as long as you're in that calorie goal where we want you to be at. We're not saying you can't drink it. We're just saying be careful with it so we can hit those calorie goals. You can use non-fat or low-fat salad dressings, those kind of things. Like Walden Farms came out with a whole product line of calorie-free everything. So they have condiments like mayo and barbecue sauce and ketchup. They also have ranch dressing, and they have some other ones like honey mustard and raspberry vinaigrette. The ranch is disgusting. Don't waste your money. There's also another one called Skinny Girl. It's also a low-calorie dressing that you could try. Vinaigrettes are great also. You can use less high-fat toppings, so decrease the amount of mayo you use. So if I make egg salad, I'm using cottage cheese instead of mayo because I know there's more protein in cottage cheese, less calories. So I would use that as a replacement. I'm a big cottage cheese person, so if you hate cottage cheese, I'm sorry. But Walden Farms does have that no-calorie mayonnaise that you could try. It's actually pretty good. It's slightly pink, so if you like pink, it's always pretty. You can also use non-fat Greek yogurt in place of sour cream. So I have patients who like to do that. I'm not a huge yogurt fan. So I'm more apt to use cottage cheese in place of sour cream. So if I'm doing a baked potato or nachos or a taco, I'm going to put my cottage cheese on that instead of the Greek yogurt or sour cream. You can choose leaner cuts of meat. So does that mean you can never have a ribeye? No, that means we're going to eat ribeyes occasionally and eat sirloins more than the ribeye because that's going to keep our calories and our fats in check. You can also decrease the amount of cheese. I'm not saying you can't eat cheese because we love cheese in every form. Sometimes we go a little overboard. So cheese could be a way to decrease it. The other thing, the type of cheese. So instead of doing cheddar cheese, mozzarella, Swiss, and provolone definitely have less calories and fat in them than their yellow counterparts. Save your desserts for special occasions. So it's your birthday. Do you get cake and ice cream? Of course you do. So instead of a big piece of cake, you're going to have a smaller piece. There are alternatives to regular ice creams. After surgery, our flavor profile will change. So things that are sweet will become super sweet. So a bite of cake may be good instead of a whole slice. Different kinds of ice creams that are out there. They have Halo Top. They have Light Cow. They have Enlightened is another one. Rebel. My favorite brand is Real Good, and I use a lot of their products. They just came out with an ice cream. I don't think it's in stores yet. Usually it rolls out in the East, and then we get it several months later, but that is coming. So find something like that. The problem with those ice creams is they tend to be really hard. So you pull them out of the freezer, they're hard, you break your spoon when you try to eat them. So really you're supposed to be waiting about 30 minutes. I have a big bloodhound, so if I leave anything on the cupboard for 30 minutes, she's gonna eat it. So I put mine in the microwave for like 15 seconds and that defrosts a little bit. You also lose all that ice crystal-y kind of texture that's on those ice creams by doing that. So either one are an option for that. You can do some recipe changing. So you can use applesauce in place of oils. Everyone's probably heard of that. The question is, do you want more ice cream or do you want more oil or do you want more carbs? You can do either one of those depending on what you're looking for in your recipe. You can actually replace tofu in place of butter in baking. Sounds really disgusting. If you use silken tofu in a cookie recipe and you switch it cup for butter, you're going to get a fat cookie like a pumpkin cookie instead of a crunchy one like a regular cookie. Those are the kind of things we do in support groups. So we took a tofu pumpkin chocolate chip cookie and we made it go from about 150 calories a cookie down to 60 calories a cookie by using the tofu. We changed the type of sugar. So we used Splenda white sugar and Truvia brown sugar. And then we cut the chocolate chip amount in half. So definitely we do those in support group. Support groups are the last Thursday of every month in Blackfoot. They're currently on hold, but we will start those up. After attending this class, we'll get you put on the mailing list for those flyers. You'll get the topic that we're going to talk about, and then you'll get the recipe associated with it. Our Blackfoot support group, we do feed you, so you will get whatever we're cooking for that day. Our kitchen makes it for us. We've done pizza, we've done lasagna, we've done pancakes. So we kind of try to take normal foods that we want to eat and twist them so they're easier for bariatric or weight loss patients to be able to eat those foods without feeling like they're deprived of everything. So definitely you'll be getting that mailer in the mail as soon as we restart those support groups back up. So next we're going to talk about protein. Protein's important for lots of things in our body. It's important for wound healing. Number one, we just had major surgery and we need to heal. So if we're not eating enough protein, we're not going to heal properly. Number two, it works in our immune function. So we have the elderly population who are always sick. The reason being is because they don't eat enough protein, whether if protein tastes metallic-y or they don't have appetites, they can't chew it. So then we throw an Ensure at them, a regular Ensure, and we're giving them 9 grams of protein and carb loading them. Doesn't always seem to work. So protein's definitely important in our immune function. So hair loss happens with these surgeries. People, especially women, get very freaked out about it. So usually hair loss starts about 3 months after surgery because that 3 months is about how long it takes protein to turn over in our body. So then at 6 months, usually you see your hair starting to thicken back up and that hair loss really start to slow. You can try zinc. Zinc we're showing helps with that hair loss. Biotin doesn't really work. Usually people will go out and buy high volumes of biotin and take them and they're just peeing it out. So it's a water soluble vitamin, so we just kind of lose it in the urine. So you could try zinc. If your hair for some reason doesn't start to thicken up, really look at your protein intake, your vitamin intake, and maybe add a zinc supplement in there, and that should really help. Guys are more concerned about the muscle loss. So when we lose weight, we don't lose weight just in fat. We're going to lose weight in fat and muscle. And so muscle loss does occur. So keep in mind that if you're exercising regularly, strength training, and getting your protein in, you can definitely build that muscle back up. So protein, you should be consuming protein with all of your meals. You should, at least half needs to be protein. So if you come in and you're eating applesauce for lunch, I do have a beating stick. I'm just kidding. I don't. But we'll definitely talk about food choices. We'll talk about tracking your food using that Berrytastic app. You're going to hear that app all the time. We're always checking that. If you are a man getting a sleeve, we're looking at 70 to 80 grams of protein. If you're a woman getting your sleeve, it's a little bit less at 60 to 80. If you're getting a bypass surgery, we're looking close to 100 grams of protein, just because we do have that malabsorption issue that can occur. Lots of places that protein's found, meats, cheeses, eggs, tofu, beans. Keep in mind that a lot of our protein sources have carbs associated with them. So if we're trying to get your carbs down, your protein up, we're looking at just regular meat that's unbreaded. We're looking at eggs, and we're looking at cheese. So everything else, nuts and beef jerky and those kind of things do have carbs associated with them. Yes, they do have some protein, but they do have carbs. They do actually have a carb-free beef jerky. Tillamook makes it and Walmart makes it also. So you could look for those. I don't know how they taste. I haven't actually tried those, but they are out there. Protein shakes, we promote protein shakes. So after surgery, you're going to be doing 2 protein shakes a day. Protein shakes should definitely be whey if you can tolerate whey. Sometimes you can tolerate the whey protein before surgery, and then after surgery, you're not able to tolerate it. So at that point, we can move you to a soy protein or a pea protein, preferably. If for some reason you're not tolerating the whey, please get a hold of us. We do have some of those plant-based protein shakes in our office, and you could try those out so you're not purchasing a bunch of shakes that you decide you hate. So whey protein if possible. 20 to 30 grams of protein per serving is what we're looking for. So I don't want you to go get a regular Ensure that has 9 grams of protein in it. And then half the amount of carbs is protein. So if you have 30 grams of protein, less than 15 grams of carbs. Keep in mind that if you have 15 grams in 2 shakes, you're at 30. We're going to try to get your carbs below 50 grams a day after surgery. So if you're getting 30 grams of carbs from your shake, you only get to eat 20 grams. Me personally, I would rather eat more carbs than drink them. And so I tend to keep my shakes lower in carbs than in out of the higher side. Patients like to mix fruit with their shakes, especially if they get the powders. So we mix fruit with them and yogurts and milks because we want them to taste better. Don't do that. So protein, if you're doing a protein powder, it'll be protein powder and either almond milk or water, and stay away from those fruits and juices that people mix in those protein shakes. You can add a little bit of powdered peanut butter. You can find that in most grocery stores next to the peanut butter. Different types of protein shakes. So there's a bunch of different protein shakes out there. We have a couple here. So Bariatric Fusion is the brand that we sell here. It is a whey protein. The good thing about that one is it's got 27 grams and 4 ounces. So it's a way to get lots of protein in very little volume if you're having a problem getting that whole 8-ounce shake. And so you can do something like this. Premier Protein seems to be a crowd favorite. Premier Protein is what most patients drink. I would definitely suggest going to Walmart or Walgreens and buying a 4-pack and trying that out first. In your bags that you're going to receive, there is a sample of the Premier Protein, so you will be able to have that. There is also some samples of that Bariatric Fusion in your bags that you picked up from our office. Premier Protein has 30 grams of protein. It has 2 net carbs. It comes in the milky shakes. They just came out with a Premier Protein and oats. It's got 20 grams of protein and 7 grams of carbs, and it's apple cinnamon. They have blueberry, and then they have a maple and brown sugar, which I find kind of an odd flavor for a protein shake, but who knows? They also come in a water. So Costco and Sam's Club both carry the waters. You could try those out. They do have 20 grams of protein in them also. Keep in mind, if you're trying to hit 60 grams of protein after surgery and your shake only has 20 grams of protein, you have to drink 3 of them. So more protein is better right after surgery. Ensure Max is a new one that just came out probably 6 months ago. It's their high protein shake. It's got 30 grams of protein, 4 grams of carbs in it. Make sure that when you purchase that, it does say Ensure Max on it and not just regular Ensure. These, we do have coupons in our office. So if you decide you love these, they're $3 off coupons. And so we can give those to you. It makes them comparable in price to the Premier Protein at Costco or Sam's Club. So definitely try some different shakes out there. Find out what you like. Don't stock up on them because you may love them now. You may hate them later. So that's another big thing that we see with the flavor profile is protein shakes. I can't tell you how many patients have come to me and said, I bought all of these protein shakes and I think they're disgusting. I don't know what to do with them. So don't want you to waste your money and get stuck with a bunch of shakes that you don't like. So buy a couple to get you through a week or maybe 2 weeks and then reassess whether you can drink them or not. Beverages. So we should be drinking at least 64 ounces a day. Your fluid ounces will be everything you're drinking in the first 2 weeks. So you'll be on liquids for 2 weeks after surgery. You can count your protein shakes as also considered a liquid. Are you going to hit 64 ounces at your first 7 to 10 day post-op? Probably not. We'll be happy if you're hitting 40, 50 ounces. If you come in and you're hitting 16 or 20 ounces, we may hook you up to an IV for dehydration. So push those fluid as much as possible. Can you use straws? So straws are very controversial. So pros and cons to both of them. I'm going to tell you to stay away from straws for the first 6 weeks after surgery so we can make sure that everything is healed up well. After that, if you want to use a straw, you can go ahead and try it. If you get pain from using a straw, stop using a straw. If you don't get pain, I don't care if you use a straw. So the theory is that straw holds air, and when you suck on the straw, it pulls that air into your stomach, which causes some stomach pain. So either way is fine. Some patients can get their liquids in better if they're using a straw. So keep that in mind. You should be consuming only low-calorie beverages. So everything you're drinking should be less than 15 calories per serving. So water is great. Water is not always the best option after surgery. Some people do not tolerate water. Tastes funny, feels like a rock in their stomach, causes nausea. So if those things happen and it's hindering your ability to get all your fluid in, you're going to switch to some kind of flavored beverage. So whether you're doing one that has artificial sweeteners in it, like Gatorade Zero, Powerade Zero, Crystal Light, or something that doesn't have a sweetener in it, like Hint Water or Splash Water, or something that even has stevia in it, like the Bai Waters or True Citrus. So there's a wide variety of options what you can be drinking. Things that you should definitely stay away from: any kind of juice. So fruit juice is liquid sugar in a cup. If you want to drink juice occasionally, make sure that you count that juice into your carb intake for the day. It's going to take a big hit. So 4 ounces of juice does have about 15 grams of carbs in it. So if you're drinking an 8-ounce glass, you're at 30 grams. So just be careful with the juices. Regular Gatorade, G2, regular Powerade, those definitely higher in carbs and sugar than we're wanting you to drink. Anything that's carbonated, or any kind of soda, carbonated soda, even if you're letting it go flat, you're going to stay away from any kind of soda. And then kids' drinks like Kool-Aids and Sunny Delight and those kind of things you're going to stay away from because they, again, have lots of sugar in them. Carbonation. So we kind of hit on this. Anything that's fizzy, you're going to stay away from. So carbonation beverages are like soda or beer, champagne, seltzered waters. Energy drinks a lot of times are carbonated. They have seltzered wines now that have carbonation. So reason being, they can cause a good amount of stomach pain when you drink them. Nobody wants to be in pain. Do we have patients who drink soda? Unfortunately, yes. Do they have pain? Yes, they do. But that's kind of what gets us into trouble. We're doing something that we know is bad for us that's causing a physical reaction like pain, and we're still doing it. So my advice would be to stay away from all carbonation, period. So if you don't know if it's carbonated, this is my solution. We're going to take you outside. You're going to shake that beverage up. You're going to open it outside. And if you come back inside the house covered in that beverage, probably carbonated. A lot of the beverages do say carbonated on them, or they'll say sparkling, like the Bai Waters. A bottle is uncarbonated. The can is carbonated. A lot of the energy drinks, same way, but the energy drinks that are carbonated say carbonated on them usually. So make good choices, and stay away from those carbonation. Dry meals. Dry meals is probably one of the hardest things that we're going to ask you to do. So dry meals is nothing to drink 30 minutes before your meals to 30 minutes after your meals. Most of us are in the habit of having a glass of something on the table while we're eating our meals. So take the glass away. When you eat and drink at the same time, most gastric patients experience nausea and vomiting, pain. So not the best idea. We do have a small portion of our gastric surgeries, certain patients who can eat and drink at the same time, and they're fine. The problem is that liquid causes everything in your stomach to turn to mush, and then it liquefies it and it empties out of your stomach faster. So when that happens, instead of eating in 4 hours, you're hungry in 2 hours. So being careful with trying to limit those. The Baritastic app does have a timer on it. If you don't have that app, you can look up bariatric timers. There are other options for those timers to help you keep on track. Liquid containing meals. So we want you to be careful with any kind of meal that contains liquid. So soups, cereals, cottage cheese, apple sauces, those kind of things. Again, they're liquid and they're mushy and they're going to go straight through your surgery quickly. So emptying your stomach faster. So if I eat soup for lunch, within an hour or two, I'm starving, right? So then I'm more likely to eat. So like I said, I'm super lazy and I'm not going to get up and cook eggs in the morning. So I grab my protein shake on my way out the door. Usually by 10:30, 11 o'clock, I'm feeling like I need something to eat. And so I usually will do like string cheese or moon cheese or nuts or something because I've planned that. So if you're going to eat these foods, you need to plan a snack to get you through to your next meal. Make sure that it's high in protein and not just grabbing what's available. These foods also we can eat more of. So you may be able to eat a half a cup of chicken, but you may be able to eat a cup and a half of soup. So you can definitely increase the amount of calories you're eating by eating these foods also. So just be very careful with them. Make sure you're tracking them accurately in your app. Next, we're going to talk about vitamin and mineral supplements. So everybody will be on vitamins for the rest of your life. Need to be chewable for 4 to 6 weeks after surgery. So vitamin pills are big, they're really compact, so it's really hard for our stomach to break down. So we recommend chewable vitamins, whether they're like the chalky ones like a Flintstone, a gummy. They have vitamin patches now that are bariatric friendly, and they also have the liquid ones. Tespo makes those. So depending on which direction you want to go, you can go to Walmart and you can buy them all separately. In your binder in section 5, if you look at it, there is a handout that looks like this. And so this handout has a list of all the nutrients we're looking for in a multivitamin. So options, I tell people go to Walmart or wherever you're buying your vitamins and look for these. If you're buying them at Walmart or Costco, you'll need your multivitamin. You'll need a B complex because most of the time those vitamins are lacking in the B vitamins. If you choose to go with a gummy multivitamin, they rarely have iron in them, so you'll need an iron supplement. And then they're always missing the calcium and vitamin D. So you'll definitely need to pick one of those up also. So buying those all separately can definitely add up. So you can do bariatric vitamins, which tend to be a little bit cheaper, or not cheaper. They tend to be more complete. Some of them are definitely more expensive. The Tespo liquid ones, you pay $100 for the machine and then it's $60 a month. Berry melts are about $70 a month. The vitamins that we use here are called Bariatric Fusion. The Bariatric Fusion vitamins are 100% complete in the chewable ones. They are $27 a month. You can buy them at any of our clinics. We have them in 5 flavors. And you can buy them on Amazon for the same price. So you don't have to buy them from us. So you all received a shaker cup like this. In your shaker cup, there is a pack of vitamins. And these are the Bariatric Fusion vitamins, the chewable complete ones, and they have all the flavors. So there are 5 different flavors. Definitely try those out and before coming in to purchase your vitamins so you know which flavor you like. So we always get at the front desk, what is your favorite flavor? Well, my favorite flavor may not be yours. So our best seller is the orange cream. The orange cream people tend to really like. My favorite one is the cherry. I have patients who love the tropical and I absolutely hate the tropical. So everybody has a little bit different opinion on what they're looking for. So calcium and vitamin D are important. They help to promote weight loss and keep us maintaining our weight loss. Calcium, 1,500 milligrams is kind of what we're looking for. Vitamin D, 3,000 international units. If you're on a vitamin D supplement from your doctor and you're on 50,000 international units once a week or 5,000 international units a day, don't back down to this volume. So you're going to keep with that dose that is prescribed to you by your doctor. Usually those pills are small enough that you don't have to worry about doing anything with them. So you could just swallow those. B12 and iron also, we talked about those. So make sure that your vitamin does have iron in it. Men also do need the iron in their multivitamin. Some men are like, no, I don't want to do the iron, but definitely you should have the iron also in there. Try to prepare ahead of time. So if you can get the stuff that you need ahead of time, you can be prepared after surgery. So Your protein shakes, you're going to start them as soon as you go home from the hospital. Your vitamins, I would tell you to give it a day or two just to make sure you don't have any nausea. If you don't have nausea, you can go ahead and start your vitamins. If you're having nausea, don't start your vitamins because they will make you sick, especially if you're not taking them with food. If you take them on an empty stomach, they will cause some nausea. So just make sure that you're feeling good before you start those vitamins. And again, you can get those in the clinics or you can buy them on Amazon. So we're going to dive into the liver shrinking diet, which is always everybody's favorite. Everyone's so excited. So again, in section 5 is separated by these salmon colored sheets. It starts on page 111, but we're going to go to page 112. So in the binder, there is a list of what exactly you should be doing for each meal and what each of those choices look like. So there is a typo on this page. Your third meal, it says you get 2 protein choices and 2 vegetable choices. You really only get 1 protein choice. So if you want to go ahead and change that in your binder so that that's correct. Okay. So liver shrinking diet, you must start this 1 to 3 weeks prior to surgery. If your BMI is between 35 and 40, you're going to do it for a week. If your BMI is between 40 and 50, you're going to do it for 2 weeks. And if your BMI is between 50 and 60, you're going to do it for 3 weeks. Gina or Dr. Faust will tell you when to start that liver shrinking diet. You should be losing 10 to 15 pounds on this diet. So that's expected. If you lose 1 or 2 pounds, you probably are not following it the way it's supposed to be followed. So sometimes we see cheating happen. So make sure that you're following this diet exactly how it's written and not what you feel like you should be doing. At any time, if you have questions about this diet, my phone number is in this binder, my cell phone number. It's on page 8. So don't hesitate to call me or text me. Please do not do so at midnight. It doesn't make my husband happy. I had a patient once call me at midnight to tell me his incisions looked infected. And my husband was like, "Who is that, Shauna?" I was like, "Bob, my boyfriend." And he didn't really like that so much. I think I'm funny, but he didn't really like it. Your calorie intake should be only 700 to 800 calories. So it's fairly low calorie. Absolutely no cheating. For any reason, if you're struggling, please call me. Don't call me after the fact. Call me before you do it. I've had patients call me and say, "I ate 4 hot dogs for lunch. Is that a problem?" Please don't do it. We've had to cancel surgeries because patients didn't follow the diet appropriately. The reason why this diet is so important is because your liver sits over top of your stomach. And as we become overweight and obese, our livers fill full of fat. And so Dr. Faust has to move that liver out of the way to get to your top part of your stomach so she can perform your surgery the best that she can perform it. So if your liver is too big and fatty, she'll pull out. You'll pay for a surgery that you don't get and we'll send you home and you'll have to lose some more weight and try again. So never good for us. You guys don't feel good about it. So please just make sure you're following it. If you're struggling, do not hesitate to call me. If you're like, "I don't know if I want to call the dietitian," you can call our office number after hours and get put through to either Dr. Faust or one of our PA's cell phones. Always better to call me because I kind of my thing. So they may just refer you to me anyway. So make sure that you're following it. Absolutely no cheating. If you're on insulin, we're going to talk about a little bit of a tweak that you're going to make on that liver shrinking diet because your insulin levels will plummet. First of all, if you're comfortable adjusting your own insulin, you can do that. If you are not comfortable, you need to take this diet to your primary care doctor or whoever is managing your insulin and show it to them so they can help you adjust that insulin. So if you don't adjust your insulin and you start this, your your blood sugars are going to bottom out. That's not our goal. Okay. So definitely take it to your primary care, show it to them and let them know what you're doing. So the meal plan. So your first meal of the day, you get to do protein. Protein can be a protein shake if you want to do a shake. I would not advise doing more than 1 shake during this period because after surgery, you'll be doing 2 for 4 to 6 weeks. You're going to be so sick of protein shakes that you're never going to want to drink them. So limit it to 1 a day. So a protein shake you can do 2 eggs, you can do 3 ounces of meat. If you have a scale at home, you can go ahead and weigh it after you cook it because it does shrink when you cook it. If you don't have a scale, it's probably not necessary that you go buy one. Just kind of eyeball it. It's about the size of a deck of cards. Or you can do 3/4 cup of a low-fat cottage cheese. So previously we said you could do full-fat things. At this point, we're getting your calories down, so I'm going to specify it does need to be a low-fat or a fat-free cottage cheese. You also get fruit. If it's a fresh fruit, you get a cup. So a half a banana, 17 grapes fit into a cup, depending on the size. You can do a small apple, about the size of a woman's hand, not a man's hand, because your hands are hugantuous. You can do a cup of berries. You can do 2 cutie oranges. So keep in mind a cup if it's fresh. If it's canned fruit, we're looking for half a cup. So tend to be a little higher in sugar. Also, we're looking for fruit canned in fruit juicer and water. No syrups, even if they're extra light syrups. So just fruit juicer and water. If you do dehydrated fruit, you can do that, but it's only 2 tablespoons. So if you take 17 grapes, they fit into a cup. If you take all the water out of all those grapes and you put them, they become raisins, and you put them into 2 tablespoons, they're going to fit. So same amount of sugar in both of them, probably going to get more satisfaction eating the cup of grapes than the 2 tablespoons of raisins. So I always promote doing the fresh fruit and not the dehydrated stuff. Dairy, you also get dairy for breakfast. You can do 8 ounces of cow's milk. If you are lactose intolerant, don't do cow's milk. You can do almond milk or soy milk. Those are fine. You can do a string cheese, or you can do 6 to 8 ounces of a light yogurt. 15 grams of carbs or less is kind of what we're looking for. If you're lactose intolerant, they do have like coconut yogurts out there now that you could try and see if you like those. Your second and third meal are the same. You get your protein choice again, and then you get 2 cups of vegetables. You can eat them cooked or raw. Doesn't really matter how you're eating them. Really no butters, no oils, no sauces. Salad dressings, you can use that Walden Farms, 2 tablespoons of that Skinny Girl, or you can use a vinaigrette, 2 tablespoons. But really trying to keep those high-calorie foods off of our vegetables. You can use any type of seasoning that you would like. So if you're diabetic, you're on insulin, not diabetic. If you're on insulin, you're going to add either a fruit or a dairy to your lunch and dinner meals. That's going to help stabilize your blood sugar, so you're not going to see those blood sugars plummet. So just kind of sometimes there's confusion on what you get to eat. So you get to pick something from each category, not just one thing from all 3 categories. So breakfast would be 2 scrambled eggs, a string cheese, and a half a banana. So that would be your meal for breakfast, not just a protein shake. If you're having problems at all, please let us know and we'll help you get that figured out. So your post-op diet. So your post-op diet is, woohoo! Here on we're in section 5 still. So section 5 really is the nutrition section. On page 58 is where the gastric bypass guidelines start, and on page 77 in your binder is where the sleeve guidelines, and that will tell you what days to advance your diet. These slides will tell you what's on the meal plan, but it doesn't really tell you when to advance it. So look on those pages and it will tell you exactly what days you're supposed to progress your diet. It also has a list of the foods you should be eating on that meal plan or that diet also. So day of surgery. So we're going to take you into surgery. Absolutely nothing to drink day of surgery. So we're going to hook you up to an IV. We're going to help with hydration that way. The doctor will give you a little 15 milliliter cup with a mouth swab to moisten your mouth with, but we're not going to give you anything to drink. Day after surgery, we're going to take you down to radiology. We're going to do an upper GI. And if you've ever had an upper GI, it's fabulous. So you get 4 of these little cups of the grossest thing you've ever put in your mouth. Sorry. We're checking for a leak. We haven't ever had one, but we want to double check to make sure that there is no leak there. If there's a leak and we don't catch it, all of whatever you're eating is going to go into your abdominal cavity and you can end up in the hospital with it. So want to double check that. Dr. Faust is really quick about getting us back on track with or getting back to you and getting your diet advanced fairly rapidly after that. So clear liquids is where we're going to start your first 2 days after surgery. Clear liquids, you can do fruit juice. If you did a gastric bypass, I would highly recommend staying away from fruit juice. It can cause dumping syndrome. You do not get dumping syndrome with a gastric sleeve. You can do herbal teas. You can do sugar-free popsicles, sugar-free jellos. You can do broth. So that's what we're going to focus on for our first 2 days out of surgery. When you go home, if you're still on clear liquids, you can go ahead and start your protein shake. You're not going to drink 2 protein shakes in the first day after surgery. It may take you a week or so to get up to those 2 shakes. But just making sure that you're doing 3 meals. So breakfast could be sugar-free jello. protein shake between breakfast and lunch. Lunch could be your broth, and then protein shake between lunch and dinner, and then dinner could be some more broth. So making sure that you're doing 3 meals, 2 shakes. So we're doing about 5 meals a day. Okay. Your meal sizes should really only be 2 to 4 tablespoons, quarter of a cup. So we're trying to keep all the pressure off that staple line. So quarter of a cup, you're going to be fine. You shouldn't feel hunger. If for some reason you do, please call us and let us know. We can definitely try to figure something different out for you. On day 3, we're not going to call you to advance your diet. So please advance your diet on day 3. I have patients who come in 7 to 10 days after surgery and tell me how hungry they are, and they're eating broths and sugar-free jellos. Of course, you're hungry, you're starving. So day 3, you get to move to full liquids. Full liquids are things like milk. I don't care if it's whole milk or soy milk, almond milk, whatever kind of milk you want to do. You can do cream soups that have been thinned and strained to a consistency of milk. Buy a bunch of different soups. Don't just buy cream of chicken and think that's going to last you for 3 days, because you are never eating cream of chicken soup again. So buy several different kinds of cream soups, cycle through them. Winco actually has a really good selection. I think a better selection than any of the other stores that I've seen. So they have things ranging from cream of celery to cheese to cream of bacon, who would have guessed, cream of lobster, cream of potato. So they have lots of different types of cream soups. So buy 5 or 6 cans and cycle through those if you're going to do the cream soups. You can do pourable yogurts. So Dannon's, Chobani, and Activia now makes a pourable yogurt. Yes, they do have a little bit more sugar in them, but you're only drinking a quarter of a cup. You're not drinking the whole bottle. Quarter of a cup at a meal period. If you have a favorite yogurt and you'd prefer to do it that way, you're going to add milk to it and thin it down to milk consistency. So during this full liquid stage, everything should be the consistency of milk. You can do for sugar-free puddings or custards. Again, thin them down to milk consistency, which seems a little odd, but again, the thicker it is, the more stress we're putting on that staple line. You can do cream of wheat or cream of rice cereal. The cream of wheat, I have patients thin down their cream of wheat with protein shakes. So then you've got chocolate flavored or banana flavored or peaches. So it helps you to get some of your protein shake in without having to drink a protein shake. So you can definitely do those. Your meals are still 2 to 4 tablespoons, and keep doing those protein shakes because they are important. We're still healing from surgery. At this point, at the end of this 2-week point, your day 15, you should be doing hitting that 2 shakes a day. On day 15 to day 21, you get to start pureed foods. Everything you eat should be put into a blender. You can't mash eggs with a fork and call it pureed, or chew your chicken up really good in your mouth and squish it between your teeth. Not pureed. Everything goes into a blender unless you're buying baby food stage 1 or 2 that's already pureed for you. At this point, you're going to start your dry meals. Everything before this is all liquid, so don't really need to separate food and fluid. If you're doing that, it's fine. But if you're not getting your fluid in and now you have to start the dry meals, it becomes more difficult to get that fluid in. So really push those fluids the first couple weeks to get that up to 64 ounces. Make sure that you're consuming your protein foods first. If you don't and you eat your applesauce first, you don't have room for that protein. And so then you're missing out on that protein. Keep doing those protein shakes. Oh, I went too far. Keep doing those protein shakes. Everything, like I said, consistency of applesauce or baby food. You're still doing only 2 to 4 tablespoons. So keep in mind that liquid is going to go set easier on your stomach. So puree is thicker. You're going to feel it more in your stomach. So you may hit 4 tablespoons with your full liquids and back down to 2 tablespoons with your puree. You might think that's impossible, but it happens. So if that's okay, if that happens, if you're only eating 2 tablespoons, you're going to work your way back up to those 4 tablespoons. So puree diet tips. You can, when you puree your foods, don't puree it with water. If you put chicken in a blender and you add water, you get watered down chicken. So use chicken maybe with some chicken broth. You can think of something that's going to enhance the flavor of the food instead of detract from it. So you can do any type of broth. You can do maybe a little mayo if you want to do a chicken salad. You can do yogurts or milks, those kind of things. So always think of something that's going to enhance the flavor to thin it down to get that puree consistency. You can also puree your food and freeze it down into ice cubes. Perfect little 2 tablespoon portions, ready to go after surgery. So then you can just defrost those and go. You can use baby food. Some people like the thought of baby food. Some people do not. Baby food is not seasoned. So that's, I think, is the big problem. If you season your baby food, it's going to taste a little better, in my opinion. Think of naturally pureed foods you're already eating. So instead of thinking I have to put chicken or eggs in a blender and eat that, that's disgusting. So think of like refried beans, already pureed. Puree those little chunks out of them, and then you're good to go. You can do creamy peanut butter is already pureed. Hummus is already pureed for you. What about chili? So chili in a blender, it's got all the liquid in there. Puree it up, you're good to go. Vegetable and beef or vegetable and chicken soup, same thing. You got your liquid in there. So just know that whatever you put in the blender, it's going to taste like what you put in the blender. The pureeing doesn't mess with the flavor of the food. It just messes with the texture. So it's a texture difference. You can do anything for a week, right? It's only a week. So on day 22 to day 28, we're going to move to soft foods. This is where food intolerances can pop up. So food intolerances happen when our body is trying to figure out how to digest that food and doesn't really know how to do it. So it makes us maybe some nausea, some pain. We just don't feel well when we eat it. So those can happen. If you eat those foods and you get those symptoms, put it off for a week or two, reintroduce it. Most of the time, those food intolerances do end up going away. So just keep that in mind. In a minute, we'll talk about some common food intolerances that we do see. Go slowly. If you eat 3 different foods in a meal, and how do you know what food you didn't tolerate? So try one food per meal, and once you're tolerating that, then you can start adding different foods in there. Remember, again, your stomach pouch is going to fill up faster. You're going to feel it more. Food's more dense, so you may back off to 2 tablespoons instead of the 4. Keep doing those protein shakes, and then stop eating any sign of fullness. So our goal is to have you stop eating. You don't have to eat all 4 tablespoons. If you're full at 3 tablespoons, stop. So we're not trying to teach you to overeat. We're not telling you have to eat all 4 tablespoons. Listen to your body, and it will tell you when you need to be done. So lots of foods on the soft diet. So chicken, fish, cheeses are good. Cooked vegetables without a skin or a seed. So if you're going to do asparagus, peel the asparagus. It has a very thin skin on it. It's got lots of fiber. Fiber is hard to break down. If you're doing zucchini, you're going to peel the zucchini, take the seeds out, eat the solid portion of that zucchini. Again, the seeds and the skin are pretty hard for your stomach to break down at this point. You can do bananas, canned peaches, or pears. I would caution against doing like pineapple or mandarin oranges because they're very acidic and they can cause some GI upset. Same with on the full liquid diet, the tomato soup. Pretty acidic, so really try to maybe avoid that if you love tomato soup. Maybe try to avoid that so you don't get an adverse reaction and then never eat tomato soup again. So you can do any kind of egg, scrambled, fried, boiled. Any of those are fine. You can do like tuna salad, egg salad, but you're going to leave out those crunchy things in it. So no celery or pickles or onions. Just basically mayonnaise and chicken. But you could add seasoning. You could even add a little pickle juice if you want that pickle flavor. Now on day 29, you're going to move to regular foods. You're going to go slowly. Eat based on how you feel. So we're trying to teach you that if you eat something that doesn't sit well, that you need to maybe not eat that or reevaluate if you should be eating it. Always eat your protein foods first. Make sure that you're chewing your food completely. Again, we eat fast, and so swallowing those chunks of food can cause some nausea. Half your meal needs to be solid protein, the other half fruits and vegetables. Those are the kind of things that we teach you in support group. And then stop eating at any sign of fullness. At this point, you can start to increase your intake up to 1/2 cup. If you're full at 1/3 of a cup, stop eating. Don't have to get to that 1/2 cup. You may get there eventually. I have a patient, she's 2 years out from her surgery, and she eats 1/4 of a cup 6 times a day instead of 1/2 cup 3 times a day, because that's what she can tolerate with her surgery. Common food intolerances. So for the first couple of months after surgery, we're going to have you avoid these foods. So any kind of red meat in steak form. So ground meat is okay, but like a ribeye is not going to be your friend. not everyone has an intolerance to it, so some people eat it and do just fine. So what I would tell you, if you're dying for a piece of meat, a steak, get a thin cut, like maybe a carne asada, get one of those meat tenderizer hammers and beat the crap out of it. So you're going to tenderize it really well so your stomach has less to break down, and then try it. Your favorite carb foods, breads, rolls, pastas, rices. So really with this keto diet, there are lots and lots of different choices out there now that we didn't have even 3 years ago. So they have a keto bread now that has zero net carbs that you could eat. They have the pastas, the zoodle pastas already in the freezer section done for you. I like the edamame pasta at Fred Meyer's. It's in the organic section, and you get more of the dried pasta texture as opposed to the zoodles. You get more of a vegetable texture. Tortillas, they have egg white wraps you can buy at Walmart, and they're in the egg section. So there's lots of different options out there that you can definitely try. You just have to kind of look for them. Anything that's hard or crunchy. So dried fruit, nuts, coconut, chips, any of those things we're going to tell you to stay away from. I personally would prefer you to stay away from all of your comfort foods, so those high carb foods until you hit your goal. Because when we start eating those foods, we go overboard on them, so they will definitely slow your weight loss. So just be very careful with any of those types of foods. So we're all done with my portion. We're going to have Devaney come up next, and she's going to talk about the nursing section. After viewing this, if you have questions, please give us a call. You can call the office or you can call my cell phone, and we can discuss those questions with you.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Devaney Redford. We're going to cover a little bit about your hospital stay once you get to surgery, and then a little bit about exercise and what we expect of you after surgery. So real quick, I'm starting in section 3 of your binders. The first 2 pages are kind of about patient rights, responsibilities, our privacy policy. So we follow HIPAA to a T. We don't ever post anything, share anything about you being in our program. Just so you guys are kind of aware. After about a year of surgery, we'll take an after picture of you. We'll obviously give you the option if you want us to post it. We do have a big wall in our office that shares all of our success stories. If you want to be posted on that wall, we'll obviously talk to you about that. That is definitely something that we look forward to. It helps a lot of patients decide what they want to do. So if that's something you want to do, you definitely let us know. So kind of starting on page 23, once you do get to the surgical portion, we have a couple things that we'll cover with you. You'll come to what is called a successful surgery class. That is the last thing that we'll have you do before getting to surgery. At that class, we'll kind of discuss all the scary things that we have to talk to you about, kind of what to expect once you get to the hospital the day of surgery. So once you do get there, obviously you can self-park your car wherever. If you need someone to pick you up at your house, bring you to the hospital, definitely let us know. At that last appointment with Dr. Faust, you have about 2-3 weeks before surgery. So if you know at that time that you need someone to pick you up, definitely let us know. We can get that kind of arranged for you, and they'll pick you up, bring you to the hospital. If you need them to take you home, we can arrange for that too. A couple things to remember to bring with you. Dr. Faust does recommend bringing this binder with you if you do have any questions, concerns while you're in the hospital. She definitely has you refer to this binder just to make sure when you get sent home, she kind of knows what you're looking at. So it says in here to bring an incentive spirometer. You do not have to bring that with you anymore. They actually provide that for you at the hospital. They'll make sure you use that every so often. The nurses will come in, make sure you're breathing into it just to get that oxygen flow going, kind of kickstart that healing process so we can send you home as soon as possible. Comfortable clothes. So we want to make sure you're obviously as comfortable as possible staying at the hospital. But anything that's comfortable to you, nothing that applies any pressure on the stomach, nothing that rubs on the incision sites, anything like that. So usually we'll tell you basketball shorts, sweats, anything like that. If you are on a CPAP, BiPAP, anything like that for sleep apnea, you have to bring absolutely everything with you. So that means your mask, your tubing, everything that basically makes it work. Make sure you bring it with you. If you don't, sometimes they do tend to reschedule surgeries just because that is a huge health hazard. So we want to make sure that you please bring it with you. So we don't like having to postpone surgery. So make sure you bring it with you. Pre-op, kind of what to expect once you get to the hospital. You will check in with admissions at the hospital. If you don't know where that is, it is right on the right-hand side through the front door. If you get lost, there's a whole bunch of people there that can definitely show you where to go. But they'll have you check in there. They'll send you upstairs to the surgery floor. They'll have you check in once again. They'll ask you a couple hundred different questions to make sure you're the right patient, make sure they have the correct surgery for you. They'll also put you kind of in your little cubby where you'll have a whole bunch of people come in and talk to you. So you'll have the anesthesiologist that will come in, make sure we don't have any issues there. If you do have issues with anesthesia that you already know about, please make sure you let Dr. Faust know that so that we can kind of get that arranged for you. They will change you into your hospital gown, get you set up with your IV, basically get everything ready for you. So once Dr. Faust comes in to see you, you're basically ready for surgery. So Dr. Faust does want to make sure that you don't have any questions, concerns before taking you in for surgery. If you do, make sure you ask her at that time that she comes in to meet with you. Once she leaves the room, they basically take you back there, and then you're kind of sleeping out for the count at that point. So make sure if you do have any questions, concerns, please make sure to ask her. She wants to make sure you're 110% confident in what you're doing. Once the anesthesiologist comes in to talk with you, they will put an oxygen mask on you. At that point, you're basically out of it. So just to kind of make sure you're aware of who will be in that room with you, there will be a couple different nurses in there. The anesthesiologist stays in there the whole time, just to make sure if there is any issues there, he's there to take control of that. Our PA actually works in there with the surgeon, so we make sure that we have all of our T's crossed, I's are dotted, just to make sure that if anything does happen, we have a lot of people in there to kind of help with that. During surgery, we do position your body in a way that's easier for Dr. Faust to obviously do what she needs to. Most of the time, you're flat on your back for 2 hours, hour and a half, kind of depending on how long it takes her to do that. If you know you have any issues laying on your back for a long period of time, make sure you let us know that. They do try to kind of put padding everywhere that they need to help with backaches, anything like that. So Dr. Faust will inflate your abdomen a little bit to give her a little bit more working room. A lot of times people come out of anesthesia and think that there's like a basketball or something in there. That air will go away on its own. You just kind of have to wait for that anesthesia to kind of release out of your body, get the air out. You might feel a little sore, a little tender right after surgery, but eventually that will kind of go away on its own. They will make sure that you get up, walk around, really right as soon as you come out of surgery. They make sure that you get up to kind of get that airflow back in you, push that anesthesia out of you as soon as possible. A couple things that will be attached to you when you come out of surgery. Obviously the usual, they'll check your vitals, make sure that there's nothing wrong there. So you'll have a couple cords kind of connected to you. They will have what is called an abdominal binder. It just kind of wraps right around your abdomen on you. It basically just kind of holds everything together so that if you are up moving around, you have to rotate, anything like that. It kind of just holds it together so you're not moving things, shifting anything. It definitely helps a lot when you're sleeping. So when you do get sent home, make sure you do wear that. A lot of patients hate it and a lot of patients love it. So it kind of depends on your preference, but the hospital will send you home with that. If it is too big, too small, anything like that, please let us know. We do have other sizes in our office that we can definitely get for you if we need to. If by chance you know of any other surgical procedure that Dr. Faust needs to work on for you, if you have a hiatal hernia, anything like that, Dr. Faust should already know that. But she does usually try to repair that at the same time of surgery so we don't send you home, have to have you come back. If you have a lap band, most of the time she tries to get that lap band out, wait a couple months, come back and do the sleeve. But she should kind of review that with you so that you have a set plan of what surgery is coming up for you, so you obviously know. The liver, Shauna did talk a little bit about the liver shrinking diet. We want to make sure that you are following that as closely as possible. If Dr. Faust does get in there to do surgery and it is too big, obviously she can't get to the right spot that she needs to, she does abort the surgery and she'll make you go on that diet for a little bit longer, and no one loves the diet, so we want to make sure we don't have to do that to you. So please make sure you're following that. Like she said, if you have any questions, concerns, please either call me or Shauna. Either one of us can sure help you with that. Post anesthesia care, we don't really require you to have post-anesthesia care, but if by chance you are not coming out of things how Dr. Faust prefers, having any issues with anesthesia, anything like that, we will put you in the PACU. That way they can keep a little bit of a closer eye on you. In your room, if you have any issues, need more blankets, anything like that, please bother your nurses as much as you need to. No one likes staying in a hospital, so we want to make sure you're as comfortable as possible. Pain is controlled through medication. If you can handle tablets right after surgery, they'll give you either gabapentin, Celebrex, anything like that. If it is not tolerable, we'll give you a little something stronger. But most of the time, our patients do really, really well and don't need that. So, I did talk about a little bit how the nurses will come in and talk to you. They come in, I swear, every hour on the hour. So we want to make sure we're keeping track of you. But they'll make sure you're up moving around using that incentive spirometer as much as possible. They will not give you anything to eat or drink that day of surgery. So you have surgery, they put you in your room, you're kind of chilling for a little bit. So once that next morning comes, they'll do an upper GI, make sure there's no leaking, any issues with the staple line. Once that's good, they start pounding water at you, your chicken broth, beef broth, Jello, all that good stuff. So we want to make sure that you are keeping up on that. Dr. Faust will make sure you're getting your fluids in. She actually comes in, sets a goal with you to make sure that you hit that goal before you go home. If we can't reach that goal, she does, keep you a little bit longer just to make sure that you don't have any issues getting your fluids in once you get sent home. So make sure that you are paying attention to that. They will give you a big mug, so it seems a little bit intimidating at first, but they'll give you a little cup to kind of dump that in so that you can keep up on that. If they do put a straw in your mug, I know Shauna said that after surgery, a straw can be okay. The day after surgery, it is not okay. So Dr. Faust will come in if there is a straw. She'll come in and rip it out. So make sure that you are using that little tiny cup. The big mug is a little scary, a little intimidating at first, so make sure you're focusing on that small cup. Once you are ready to go home, Dr. Faust or the PAs are the only ones that can send you home. So they're really, really good about talking with the nurses, making sure that you're good to go home before they send you home. They will give you some discharge instructions. Sometimes the hospital's discharge instructions and our discharge instructions are different. So when you come in for that successful surgery class, we will give you discharge instructions at that time. So make sure when you go home, you focus more on those than what the hospital gave you. We will also give you a medication sheet that has all the medications that we have on file for you, kind of listed in when you should start them, when you should stop them, before surgery, after surgery. So make sure you hang on to that. We want to make sure you're not starting them too soon. Once you go home, a lot of medications you can take clear up to the day before surgery. But if we need you to stop them earlier than that, we'll obviously call you and let you know. But we'll make sure we don't want any complications once you come to surgery. So we'll make sure that we definitely let you know if we need to adjust anything, do anything like that. When you come in for that successful surgery class, we'll also give you a couple different prescriptions that Dr. Faust likes to make sure that you have filled the day of surgery. So we'll give you something for pain, obviously. If you have any nausea, we'll give you something for that so you can kind of keep on track of that once you get home. If you do have a gallbladder, we will give you something to kind of help prevent gallstones. Sometimes right after surgery, that is pretty common. So we'll want to make sure that we prevent that as much as we can. We'll also put you on a blood thinner if you are not already on a blood thinner, just to kind of prevent blood clots. They do put you with compression socks right after surgery that Dr. Faust does require you to wear for 24 hours, or at least if you can at least get 20 out of the 24 hours, that's all she asks. So especially when you're sleeping, if you're kind of just lounging around, she wants to make sure that you're wearing those for at least 30 days after surgery. So they're a pain sometimes, but we do require you to wear those. So if you have any issues with them, please call us and let us know. If you already have compression socks and you want to wear your own, that is absolutely fine. Just make sure you do bring them to the hospital with you. Any personal belongings that you bring to the hospital with you, they do ask that you take it home with you. Housekeeping does come in right after they discharge you and kind of sweep the room. And I don't know where they take your stuff once they clean it. So we want to make sure that you're taking everything home with you. Any special needs, additional treatment, equipment, anything like that we are requiring you to do at home after surgery, we'll get that set up for you. So if oxygen is the only thing that's keeping you at the hospital and you can't get that up, we'll send you home with an oxygen tank that we provide to you, and we just ask that you bring it back. So we'll kind of get that arranged for you if that is something that we need to do. If you would like home health, we can get that set up for you as well. Sometimes our older patients, if you need someone to come in and kind of double check on things for you, that is definitely a great option for you. If we need to get that set up, the hospital will actually give you some of our options that we work with, that we can definitely get that set up for you. If you don't want them, need them every day, that's just fine. They don't have to come in every day. Basically, we'll want them just to double check incision sites, make sure that everything looks okay, make sure you're getting your fluid in, just stuff like that, just some helpful tips and stuff that they can sure give you. Mental health services, we don't require you to go and see the psychologist after surgery unless that is something that you guys have already arranged. But we do like to let you know that that is still an option. If you wanted to continue on with that after surgery, that is definitely a great help if you need to do that. We can definitely continue on with that if we need to. Outpatient IV therapy. If you do come in for any of your post-op appointments and you are dehydrated, or you're not getting your fluids in, anything like that, we can set you up with fluids in our office. If you are from out of town and you'd rather do it closer to home, we can definitely work with other facilities to get that arranged for you as well. Outpatient IV therapy, we don't require you to go to physical therapy after surgery unless that is something that you would like to do. Most of the time, we don't have any patients that need to go to physical therapy. If you are already doing physical therapy and you need someone to motivate you to get the exercise in, continue walking after surgery, that is definitely a good option there as well. Outpatient wound care. We don't really see a whole lot of issues with our wounds after surgery. You should have at least 5 or 6 that's usually across the top and around the bottom of your belly button. If you do start to notice that they're getting red, itchy, inflamed, anything like that, and it's all over your stomach, that's most likely an allergic reaction. You are okay to use Benadryl, Zyrtec, any allergy medication that's over the counter. If that doesn't seem to work for you, please call us and let us know, and we can definitely get you either something a little bit stronger, or we're dealing with something else that's going on. So we want to make sure that we stay on top of that. If you do have one incision or one particular side of the abdomen that's really red, inflamed, you're having issues with it, please call us. We'll have you come in. If it is infected, we'll usually set you up with wound care, just to have them kind of keep track of it, make sure there's no issues there. Just some at-home guidelines. These next couple pages are kind of just for your information. We want to make sure that you're not planning any big events right after surgery. We want to make sure that you're able to stay at home, kind of let your body recover. You've had a big surgery, so we want to make sure that you're not overdoing it right at first. So make sure that you're kind of lounging around on the couch. Don't become a couch potato. We still want you to get up, move around as much as possible. We'll tell you at least change positions about every 45 minutes. That's kind of our rule guideline, that we want to make sure that you're still up, moving around as much as possible. We don't usually hand out narcotic pain medication, but we do have to remember, please don't drive while you're on narcotic pain medication. If you need someone to pick you up to bring you to your first appointment, we can get that arranged for you, but we want to make sure that we're kind of keeping up with that. You may experience shoulder pain once we send you home. That is due to the anesthesia. Once you do start walking around, moving, getting that fluid in, that'll definitely go away eventually. But we want to make sure that you are using the incentive spirometer to get those deep breaths going, to kind of get rid of that. So, Dr. Faust will talk to you about getting at least 30 minutes a day of exercise. Obviously, right after surgery, any kind of physical activity is a little hard. So we do ask that you are walking at least 30 minutes a day. If you need to break that into 3 different times a day for 10 minutes, that is just fine. However you need to get that in is great. We just want to make sure that you are getting some physical activity in there. Make sure you're getting your fluids in. Remember, you're not going to be able to drink water how you are now. You're basically going to end up sipping it all day. Big gulps, lots of water all at one time. We don't want you to feel like you're swimming. So make sure you're not pushing it too far, causing any kind of pain, anything like that. Constipation is also very common after surgery, so we want to make sure that you're watching out for that. You are allowed to use Miralax, anything over the counter. If it does start to become an excessive issue and we're not able to relieve it, make sure you call us and let us know. We can definitely help you with that as well. And I did talk a little bit about the special stockings, but we do want to make sure that you're wearing those. Caring for incision sites, just make sure you're being cautious of them. We don't obviously want you to touch them, have to deal with them a whole lot, but she will suture them from the inside and then put a really thin layer of glue over top of them. If that glue does start to kind of peel up on the corners, don't rip off the glue. You'll risk opening up your incisions, which is not fun. So make sure if you do need to just clip off the corners, that is just fine. So it's not itchy, pulling on your clothes, anything like that. That is great. Just make sure when you do get in the shower, you are kind of just glancing at them a little bit. Make sure that nothing looks different. We're not having any issues that way. Any other issues that doesn't seem normal to you, make sure you call us and let us know. You can't call us enough times during the day. If you think that there is something that's abnormal, please call us. Either me or Kai can definitely help you out with any questions, concerns that you do have. Make sure you call us. So real quick, I'll just kind of dive into this a little bit. The exercise portion is actually in section 6 of your binder. I don't cover a whole lot of this right now because you'll go about a month after surgery where you're just strictly walking. Once you get to the point where we release you to exercise, it'll be about 4 weeks after surgery. You'll have the restriction of no lifting over 10 to 15 pounds for a couple weeks. So we'll definitely release you to go back to work after about a week and a half, 2 weeks. But we want to make sure that you're not doing any lifting, any physical activity, anything like that for a little bit. So with the exercise portion, we want to make sure that you are increasing your daily activity now. If you're obviously parking further away in the parking lot to walk to the store, using the stairs instead of the elevator, kind of incorporating a little bit of that now will kind of help you after surgery to get a little bit more into exercise after that. So we want you to think about your muscle mass. We did talk a little bit about making sure that you're getting your protein in to keep up with the muscle mass that you have now. Obviously, a lot of our men are really scared that they're going to lose their muscles. So we want to make sure that you're getting your protein in. Incorporating that exercise will definitely help with that. It'll also help a little bit with the excess skin. Not a whole lot. You'll obviously still have some, but we'll want to make sure that you're paying attention to that, not having any issues there. We want to protect your joints. A lot of times with losing a lot of weight all at one time, putting all that pressure on your joints can cause an issue. So we want to make sure that you are watching out for that. If that does start to seem to be a big issue for you, make sure you call us and let us know. We'll probably tell you to tone it down just a little bit, go back to walking every day. Make sure you're mixing it up. We don't want you to get bored with exercise. If you're doing the same thing every day, sometimes that does get a little boring. But we will give you an exercise book and some exercise bands at that 1 month appointment. It does kind of cover all the different portions of your body, how to use the exercise bands, how to switch it up a little bit. But we want to make sure that you're making it a habit, you're making everything comfortable and confident for you. If you do run into any issues, please call us. We're willing to scream in the phone for you if you need some motivation if we need to. So our phone numbers are in the front of this binder. If you need anything, you can sure call our after hours line. Either Dr. Faust or the PAs are also available at any time. So any other questions, feel free to call our office, but that is all we have for you today. Thanks for watching.